Cool. You ready?
Yep, let's get into it.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tutor Boot, where each week we talk about news related to HR and the world of work. We toot the news we like, and we boot the news that we don't like. I'm your host, Stacey Nordwall. I am a serial joiner of early stage tech companies as their first in or only HR person. And joining us today, we have Cassidy Edwards. Cassidy, welcome to the show. It's so great to have you here. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Stacey. I am so honored to be on Tutor Boot. It is so great. I love the concept. It's so creative. And with that said, Cassidy Edwards, I am your favorite marketing people partner. I am one of the ones who loves the creativity that we can bring to HR. I think there's more of it that we can bring in our space. And I really love the union of marketing and HR. I work for a startup currently as a people partner servicing marketing and all our customer facing orgs. And I'm the founder of Yo, You're on Mute. So it is a newsletter. We say Yo, You're on Mute a million times a day. So it's kind of a play on words, but also a space where people can sound off, especially like marginalized groups. And yeah, that's me. And I'm always in a cool pair of sneakers. So
Yeah,
that's me.
I know. I feel like follow Cassidy on LinkedIn just for the photos alone because always sneakers, it's a good look. Like it looks good. Something fresh in your feed. Absolutely. Um, yeah. All right. So we're gonna just dive right in. We're starting with one that I think is a pretty new story, and I've seen people talking about it this week. Black worker sues U.S. company after they sent police to his home for a wellness check during his medical leave. So the recap here is that a Black Workday employee sought medical treatment and hospitalization for stress, exhaustion, and trauma. He notified his manager and said, "This is what's going on, and I will follow up with my FMLA paperwork." The manager said, "Hey, don't worry, focus on your health." 8 days later, while he was still in the hospital, Workday sent police to his home to do a wellness check on him, claiming that they had not been able to contact him or his wife. So, as I said, he was hospitalized during that time. He was within his filing period for the FMLA paperwork. And subsequent to returning to work, he asked, why did you do this? Why did you send the police to my home? It was traumatic for my wife. It was traumatic for me. And he said that after he returned as well, that he was subject to discrimination, further discrimination and retaliation. So what did you think when you heard about this, saw it, read it?
Yeah, I was definitely like automatically clutching my pearls when I read the title. I was like, wow, this is crazy. Workday, they really like to make things complicated. Um, so if aren't familiar, software company, human resources management system, employee experience, workforce planning, financials. And so I was kind of surprised, not surprised that it was Workday, but the fact that as a woman of color, and I've been in situations where I've had to call and do real wellness checks, not on employees, because
Mm.
that's strange. It's very weird that people would go automatically to that escalation. So, just from my personal experience, and then having those wellness checks and understanding like when police come to your door, like it could be very traumatizing. It could be very like you kind of don't know what you're going to get sometimes. And so I think that is, you have to read the room. Like you have to have a level of awareness. And maybe, this is why DEI initiatives play such a integral role, like in the whole company employee experience, because crisis management, escalation processes, those need to have that level of awareness within those systems as well. So I was just very shocked that you would send police to someone's home to check on them during medical leave, especially when they've given you information that they're going to be turning in paperwork, that they're doing okay. Like, they're not in crisis where they're not communicating. but they're on leave. So you shouldn't really be communicating with them necessarily, and definitely not sending police. Like that was very alarming to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to me because reading it, I'm thinking, okay, if you believed the person to truly be in crisis,
Mhm.
why wait 8 days? Right. So if that was truly, the thinking, if the person had informed you they were going to be hospitalized, which it sounds like he did, why
Mhm.
send the wellness check, right? Because he said he's in the hospital. So there, I just kind of running through my mind with like, what is the thought process that gets you there? Um, and to your point, from a little bit of a different angle, like I spent a bit of time working at NAMI, so it's the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and they have trainings that are for family members who uh or have seriously mentally ill family, and they have peer classes, and one of the things that they do address is like the police are not prepared to engage with seriously mentally ill folks in crisis generally. And so you really have to have an awareness of what that means when you are taking the step of engaging police. So
Yeah.
again, for me, I thought if you really felt like this person was in some kind of crisis, you would also have to be thinking about that as well. And then you add on the layer of like, this is a Black employee that you're sending police to his home. Um, and it's like, I really, I can't understand the thought process.
Yeah, especially with, like you said, understanding the experiences that have been in the media, and they've started out as wellness checks and they've ended very tragically.
Yeah.
I think that is important to understand. Like these are your employees, you're creating experience for them, you're supporting them in their leaves. Like why go straight to the police? I think it's like a 0 to 100 kind of thought process that I don't understand either. And there was a quote in the article, that was pretty profound where it said like there's nothing that they would have thought cops with guns could solve on October 20th on the date that doctors with stethoscopes could not have solved.
Yeah.
But, given the situation.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was pretty shocking. I've never heard of that before happening.
That's the other thing I wondered because, I've worked for, smaller organizations generally. I have not had too many, instances where I wasn't having communication with someone or didn't know exactly what was going on or felt like I had to do some kind of, really like follow up because I wasn't hearing something back. So that was the other thing I thought is like, has anyone ever who does this? Like,
If
have you
anyone out there, if anyone out there listening has like a similar situation or has heard of this or knows a company, you don't have to put the company out there, but they do this, like please sound off in the comments. Like we need to know like what was your experience, or what have you observed, because I just have not ever seen this before.
No. Yeah, no. I've not either. I've not heard or seen anything like that before. And I feel like I know folks who do leave management and have talked about cases that seem far more complex than what this appeared to be. And I've never heard anyone taking that route. So, which it also speaks to the whole incident as well and like why he's bringing a suit against them.
Yeah, I mean, I think he has some valid feelings
Yeah.
there, because that's pretty extreme. Yeah, there was another small piece in the article that talked about in a different area. I think it was a different country, I want to say, where or a different just area where a company was checking in on sick
Yeah,
employees,
I
like
saw that. I had not heard that before either. And it said it linked to an article saying that Tesla in Germany was sending.
so it was a different country.
Yeah.
Yeah, different country. Yeah. Yeah, global organization. It's had its things as well. So
Yeah.
I feel like not surprised that they would do it, but I'm still very surprised that they're checking on sick employees essentially make sure that they're sick because there's been an uptick in sick leave,
Yeah.
that is very invasive. Like
Yeah.
that is too much. That is a bigger problem. It's almost like checking your partner's phone.
Yeah.
Like if you have that level of problem or effort that you need to put in because there's a trust that's been broken, it's
Yeah.
probably not a good situation altogether. So this is on a broader like business. So I've never seen this before either, but it's
Yeah.
equally as wild. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I read that and that also kind of surprised me too. Like I had not heard about that at all before. And I think if that ever happened to me, if someone sent anybody to my home to check if I was sick, to confirm something that I had said, I would be looking for another job immediately. It's just like no.
Yeah,
It's
at my house,
happy
I'm
class.
me. Like
Yeah.
this is my sanctuary. You know, if you showed up and you're like, "Are you really sick?" We're just checking to make sure. I'd be like, "What the hell are you doing at my doorstep? Like, you want to make my therapy flu? You want to tuck me in? Like, this is too much, you know?" Like, yeah, I would definitely look for another job.
Well, and so if it's not clear, I believe that we have both booted the hell out of that.
Oh, boot that shit all the way across, like punt it across the city. Because yeah, totally not down with it.
No.
Booted it.
Yeah. All right. We're gonna go on to the next article. This one is I super commute over 7 hours for work. I won't move out of NYC, and the journey is productive and relaxing. The recap here. Okay. Cassidy laughing so hard she's choking. Okay, the reality is that he only commutes 2 to 3 days per week. His classes are from 1:15 to 4 p.m., 2 days a week. And he says, even within the article, that his train time is equivalent to the time that he'd be sitting at the desk in his office. So this is not happening outside of or on top of his work week. Uh, have you recomposed yourself?
Yeah, I'm literally like a tear is coming out for this guy. If I could like we're in such a festive background. We're getting ready for the holidays. If I could pick up this teacup and like drink the tea, that's kind of what I would be doing. Um, because when I read the title, I almost like spit out my water. I like fell off the chair.
Yeah.
But I kind of have a plot twist at the end.
Okay.
So like it was an interesting article. Yeah, your boy Jeff is spending a lot of time on the train.
Yes.
A lot of time. He's also spending over $100 a week on this commute, which give or take may balance out on the East Coast to whatever he would be doing in gas or whatever. Still a lot of dollars being spent. Like, so I was trying to do some math calculations and I was like, okay, well, this is all like over $5,200 a year if we're even taking out 4 weeks of PTO or something like that. Like it's still a nice little cost.
Mhm.
But Jeff is also a creature of habit. Like he thrives in his environment based on this article. Been in the same apartment in Brooklyn for 20 years, for 2 decades. He loves his city. He's never moving out of NYC, you know, out of New York.
Mhm.
But he got this job in Connecticut. And
Mhm.
I was yeah, I wouldn't do this, but I kind of understand. I would never do this, okay, y'all, ever. And
Yeah.
I don't like driving, but I would still not do this. But I think he's kind of in a unicorn situation where
Yeah.
it does make sense because it breaks down like his day
Yeah.
exactly. And it makes sense for him. Like
Yeah.
he's on this train, you know, going like 2.5, 3 hours to work one way and then another way. But if you break it up, it doesn't sound as bad. Like when you start reading how his day runs, like it doesn't sound as bad as like 7 hours overall, even though that's a lot.
Yeah.
But I would say ultimately, like he really maximizes his time, and he works en route very comfortably.
Mhm.
And he doesn't do the job for the money. So there has to be something here that he's really enjoying. Maybe it's the train ride, maybe it's seeing the scenery. He's very like to himself in the train, working.
Yeah.
Um, so he's getting in the work on the ride.
Yeah.
And he says it makes him less stressed.
Yeah. He's chilling. His office on wheels. But I'm really loving this picture that you're painting of Jeff, by the way. That's bringing a lot to this story for me.
Yeah, Jeff is interesting. I feel like he's, like on the weekends, he says he walks and bikes and he does not advocate for public transportation. He would rather take the subway, which I've been on an NYC subway before and got lost, which was a whole nother tutor boot the hell out of that. But he is like loving his structure. And so
Yeah.
that's why I feel like he's a creature of habit. He probably hangs out at his brownstone on the stoop, just like watching the leaves change, like in this background. Like he's giving like he's living his best life. And this is the solution for him. So I really can't hate it. Too bad.
I think, oh my God, that is killing me. I think the thing that struck me about it is like, yeah, you kind of look at the headline and you're just like, okay, what kind of, bonkers schedule does this person have? There's no way. And then you look at it and it's kind of like, okay, well, actually, this is just kind of equates to more than a normal work, like a normal work day.
Yeah.
So this isn't someone who's spending 16 hours a day getting to and from work and working and all of that. That's not happening. It is kind of compacted within a normal work day, and he's just working on the train instead of in his office, right? Um, and I think it's weird because I think that the thing that struck me about it was that this isn't the first article that I've seen that started to bring back this whole super commuting thing again.
Mm,
And I feel like it's starting to get I verge into that like hustle and grind thing that I wish was dead and gone of like I enjoy my job so much and I enjoy where I'm living so that I'm going to commute 4 hours each way and all this other, whatever it is, like this kind of glorification and romanticization of commuting and working and is putting all of the hours into that. And I'm like, cool, can we get a super commute article about the person, the service or retail worker who has to live so far away from their job because that's where housing is affordable and them trying to come in? Like, let's balance this out because this is a very romantic view of super.
very romantic. But because that's the plot twist at the end, I was like, I want to live the soft life like Jeff. Like, like, because I was like, he doesn't. When I first read the article or the title, I was like, Jeff wakes up at like midnight to get ready to, get dressed and then like be on the train at 5 to get to work by 8 or whatever the case. But that's not true. He leaves at a normal time like anybody else would leave. Like the same time I would leave to go to an office, 7:30 or so, go to Penn Station, get on the train. He doesn't really like the food too much, so he just starts working. And it's very like, and he gets to work on time, you
Yeah.
know, he gets to work, he eats lunch, then he teaches his classes, he's a professor. And so it seems like very still flexible
Yeah.
and he's not stressed at all. But I think a normal person that has to commute really far and they're living in a certain situation where it has to be affordable, hence why they don't have a car. It's not really a choice
Yeah.
that it's going to look a lot different, I think, for them. It's going to be that long commute is going to be very stressful,
Yeah.
and they're taking up more time, to try to alleviate some of that stress. Versus Jeff seems like he's just going with the flow.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Right. Yeah. He's just on the train instead of in his office. So it doesn't matter. It's flexible. So yeah, I think I do enjoy hearing your painting of Jeff's life. That's really the bonus for me of this article. But yeah, it did feel just so like such a romantic picture of the super commute, and I'm like, I feel like this is not when people
Yeah.
are commuting these long distances, this is probably not what most people are experiencing. This is
Like,
not
how often does this happen? Even when you like open the article, Jeff is like
Jeff was stoked.
he's happy. Jeff is happy. So I would say like for Cassidy, that's a boot. Like that's a Beyonce Cowboy Carter boot. However, for Jeff, it's a big two.
Yeah,
Like, no,
that's true. That is true.
no, I couldn't do it. Sign me up. Else.
No, I mean, I think when I was living in the Bay Area, and it would be like, oh, get on one of these shuttles and commute from, San Francisco and Oakland down to Fremont or what. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not sitting on a shuttle for 2 hours a day. Like, no, it's not for me.
And also, that's a good point because I'm in Texas, so I'm in Houston, and like I can't imagine being on any type of public transportation for 2 hours. It's just something that's not really common for us. I know New York
Yeah.
is probably different,
Yeah.
but I mean, we have public transportation here in the city, but like I need my vehicle, and maybe
Yeah.
that's sounding very privileged, but yeah, I just can't do like a super. I don't like being in the vehicle, period. And I have astigmatism. So at night it's like disco party. So I really don't want to be out and about driving.
Yeah. 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 Well, and
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm to the point, I'm in Phoenix now, so if I would need to commute, it would very likely be in my own vehicle. And if I rode a bus or something like that, which we don't have a strong public transportation system here, there's no way I could work. I would 100% get motion sick. So
Yeah.
like, this is
I
just,
couldn't work on the bus either.
yeah,
Like, yeah. Mm.
it's not Jeff's life is not for me. I don't think I could make it work, but he is loving it, as you said.
Yeah. He's living it. He's living the dream.
All right, so we're going to head into our last article. Here we have, I believe this was something that just came out last week. Dell staffers scramble to find childcare after 5 days a week office mandate gives just a few days notice. Report. And what the recap is here is it sounds like that Dell told their a certain segment of their workers on a Thursday that as of Monday, they had to be in the office 5 days a week. And so I think this actually was maybe a month ago. But previously in the year, they had told those folks that they would be able to choose between hybrid and remote work. So this is a complete shift over just basically a weekend. And predictably, what they found, a bunch of parents were scrambling trying to find childcare options and programs last minute. Um, what'd you think?
So, as an active, cool mom of three kids, this pissed me off like so good. Like it just really made me mad because I feel I resonate so much with the process of finding childcare, daycare, after school programs. And so there was a really good valid point of, some of these after school programs are already filled, like they're already full because that happens at a certain time of year, right? And there's planning and time that goes into it. It is a process. If you're a parent, you're trying to scout a good daycare, not just any daycare.
Yeah.
I feel like most people would agree. And as a parent, like reading it, I could already feel like the anxiety bubbling up because I've been there like early on when my kids were really small. So I feel that it's completely unfair to give someone such a lack of like time and finding, like, let's say the adjustment is going to happen regardless. Okay, great. But you need to give people a runway
Yeah.
so they can like transition into this adjustment. So many things have come out of COVID and like the pandemic era where we're not only watching our children at home sometimes, but maybe it's you're a caregiver. Now you're the primary caregiver for somebody. So all of this requires time, some empathy. I mean, can we be human a little bit?
Yeah.
Because I could imagine if the person putting out this mandate, or the leadership team or exec leadership team or whoever, they're not in the situation of finding the daycare, so I think as you create like a people experience, you design your employee experience. If you're making big changes, this is a big change, you have to really get into a campaign of change management. Like, who the hell was over the change management here? Because it kind of said like, hey, you have to come back at this time, but it had some very vague like ambiguity around like, if you need some assistance, or you need to talk about it a little bit more. Once again, escalation process, like there are no steps. It seems like at least the communication didn't give people clarity, so people were very like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And as an HR team, I wish, and this is kind of where the marketing comes in, where we really campaign our programs, whether it's return to work or return to office, I mean, we need to campaign these a little better, and
Yeah.
we need to bring all the internal comms and get in the war room, because you're going to have some pushback.
Yeah. Yeah, I like what you're saying too. I think it's so true that I think a lot of times there's a tendency to wait kind of to the end to bring people in and think, okay, now I've given them this information and that's fine. And it does need to be more like a marketing campaign. Like, as you're saying, that's kind of what change management is. That's bringing people along. It's explaining all of the things. It's, creating all of these escalation, as you're talking about, like all of that is kind of part of a long campaign that helps get people there. If you approach them at the end, it's generally not going to go very well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're going to have pissed off employees. And so I think like going back to kind of campaigning or marketing this return to office that is going to bring some pain points. Like, if you really start to segment your employee base, really personalize some of the journey that they're going to have, and you know about this like really, really well with the work that you do, you're going to understand that there probably is a big segment of parents, and some of the pain points within that employee journey map, because you're changing and you're disrupting, their pain points are going to be having to find that care pretty quickly. And that's just not people centric. Like, that's not good for business. And it may be, some people on the verge of quitting, and that's what I needed. That's what I needed, because that's not going to happen for me. That's, it's not a retention driver. So I
Yeah.
think you need to consider like how we're communicating things out and anticipating the challenges. Also, like you said, bringing more people into the decision and co-creating something that makes sense for, different sets of employees. Like, we can't personalize and segment everyone, because that's like too much work. But this is a really big change. And the more advocates you have in the room that are co-creating the change management and the internal comms, they're going to also advocate outside of the room, for whatever it is. If it's a change that just has to happen. Do I feel like everyone needs to be 5 days in the office? Hell no, I don't. I mean, some jobs require that, obviously, but I don't think it has to be a requirement if it's not like an essential function of your job.
Yeah. Well, and if we think about our good friend Jeff, who very much liked to, have this structure in his life, yes, most people have a kind of established structure of their days, of what they're doing, of how they're, operating within, with their partners, their children, their family, whoever. And that is something that's probably been established over, a year, 2, 3, however many years, to just try to flip the switch on that and say, change how you have structured your life over this weekend is unrealistic, unreasonable.
Who's gonna find daycares over the weekend? They're not even freaking open. Like,
Yeah.
who you can't even go and like research, because most places are closed on the weekend. So yeah, I think it is totally unfair. I would be livid if I was any of those employees. And it's just horrible. So there was a quote in there that said, we continually evolve so this is a Dell person talk, like, we continually evolve our business, so we're set up to deliver the best innovation, value, and service to our customers and partners. But what companies get wrong is they don't do the same internally.
Yeah.
Like, You should set up, to deliver the best systems and innovation and value and service to your employees because they're also internal customers and clients.
Mhm.
And it appears like the expectations weren't clarified. So
Yeah.
if you were going to put out a like where they have to return to office 5 days, like what would you consider a good, reasonable ramp time or adjustment period?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think, and I feel like this is one of the things when I see people talking about like, oh, well, when it comes to RTOs, return to office, that there's this like, oh, well, if you don't like it, get a new job. If you don't like it, just, suck it up and whatever, and like as though you snap your fingers and change your whole life because a company has now made a different decision. And I think that's what I find so frustrating because it's so like short-sighted and so like narrow in its view and understanding of how people live and construct their lives. That it isn't an easy thing just to, okay, actually, I'll change everything about how I'm living my life and go back to work 5 days a week because you've now decided this, even though previously when I was working here, this isn't how it was. You know what I mean? So I find that
Yeah.
that's another thing that just frustrates me.
Yeah, and just find another job. Do y'all know how hard it is to find another job? Like
Yeah.
that is not like just an easy flip of the switch for a lot of people. Maybe not everybody, but that's just coming from a place of like just a lack of awareness.
Yeah.
And I think we just have to get better. When I say we, I mean like companies just need to get better as far as like internal comms, change management should be hella prioritized because it is the constant in businesses, especially post COVID. So
Yeah.
many changes, even in a big company like Dell.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that was also clearly another boot for us.
Absolutely. Boot that shit to the corner. Boot that shit
Oh,
back to the office.
yeah. All right. Well, that concludes another round of Tutor Boot. I really enjoyed having you, Cassidy. And if there's anything, if people want to connect with you further and learn more about what you're doing, how might they do that?
Yeah, so you all can, find me on LinkedIn, Cassidy Edwards. I'll probably be tagged in this. So come say hi. My DMs are always open. Love to talk marketing, HR, and really employee experience design. If you feel inclined, you can subscribe to Yo You're on Mute, where we get really unfiltered. And that's there's a space in my profile at the top where you can subscribe to it. And yeah, that's where you can find me. I hope y'all enjoyed. I had a great time.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Catch you next time, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Toot or Boot. You can keep in touch with me, Stacy, on LinkedIn, and be sure to subscribe to our newsletter at tootorboot.com. And if you're enjoying Toot or Boot, we'd appreciate your positive review on your favorite podcast platform.